I thought this was also pretty revealing. Yesterday morning, August 26th, at right before 8 a.m., this was tweeted out by the Sergeant Major of the Army, Michael Grinston. I think we have this tweet from him right before the attack, okay? Now, in fairness, this was before the attack, like an hour before. Here's what the Sergeant Major of the Army, Michael Grinston, tweeted. He said, "Diversity is a number. Do you have people that don't look or think like you in the room? Inclusion is listening and valuing those people. Women's Equality Day reminds us we're smarter and more lethal when we come together as an inclusive, cohesive team. Our values demand it." So this is what the Army, this is what the top brass, the people in charge of our military, were worried about yesterday while terrorists were strapping suicide vests onto their bodies and heading to the airport to kill 13 of our own guys. This is what they were focused on, is celebrating Women's Equality Day. Claiming that we're more lethal by being inclusive. Women in the Army, they make us more lethal? Now, you want to claim that makes us a more tolerant Army, then go ahead, but the point of the Army is not to be tolerant. It is to not tolerate certain things, like our enemies who wish us harm. But now the claim is that actually we are more deadly and fierce and formidable fighting force if we're inclusive and tolerant and we've got a lot of estrogen pumping through the ranks. How so? Show me the science on that. I'd like to see some studies on that. That show that the fighting units with women are more deadly. That defies all common sense. And there's no evidence of that whatsoever, and no reason to think that it's true. But this is what our military is focused on. And that's one of the points that I was making yesterday in the backstage, and I've been making now for the last couple of weeks. That I don't think the United States should be in the business of building empires overseas or nation building or pursuing imperial ambitions. I don't think that the United States should be doing that. Our founding fathers certainly never imagined that for the United States, never wanted that. But even if I could go along with that in theory, even if in theory I could agree that it's a good idea for us to become an empire and to expand our reach across the globe, the problem is we're not operating in theory, we're operating in reality. And in reality, the people who are running the empire are these kinds of people. And this is the influence that they're extending across the globe. So if you like the idea of empire building in theory, what I would say is take it out of theory and put it in reality. Do you want these people to be the ones building the American empire? Because they're the ones doing it. And speaking of these people who are in charge of the American empire, Nancy Pelosi, in the midst of the crisis in Afghanistan yesterday, this was after the attack, she got in front of cameras and this is what she was talking about.
Here we are 101 years later, women in positions of high responsibility, but an attack on the right to vote that is happening in our country. A few days ago, on Tuesday, in the House of Representatives, under the leadership of Terry Sewell, a woman from Selma, Alabama, we passed the John Lewis Voting Rights Enhancement Act to offset the damage that the courts are doing to the right to vote. And in doing so, we also need the Senate to pass it and to pass H.R. 1, which is legislation to overturn the voter suppression laws that are being enacted across the country, not only to suppress the vote, but to nullify the vote. So we have important work to do.
When I saw that clip yesterday, I actually did kind of a double take because I kind of clued in when she said there was an attack on the right to vote. Is after the deadliest day. She knew that we just suffered the deadliest day in Afghanistan for our military in a decade. And she's out there talking about the entirely fictional attack on the right to vote. Again, Get rid of Biden, and these people are still in charge. Another word of warning again. Listen, hit that subscribe button right now. Do it right now. I thank you for your compliance. It is somewhat appreciated.